Good evening. My name is Nadav. I'm currently 21 years old. And before I tell my story, a little bit about myself. I was born in Israel, and when I was 2 years old, I moved to the United States. I lived in California for a year, 5 years in St. Louis, Missouri, and another 10 years in Georgia. And after I finished high school, when I was 18, I moved back to Israel, did a gap year program, and enlisted to the IDF, into the Okitz unit. The Okitz K9 unit is a unit that works with dogs for special missions in the field of counterterrorism. They have all sorts of dogs that have different specialties, whether it's attack dogs, search and rescue dogs, or dogs that find explosives. I drafted to the Okitz unit with my twin brother, actually. We went through all the training together. It was a year and 4 months of it was long and hard training, very intense and selective. And shortly after I finished my training, I met my dog, Cheetah. Cheetah was a cute and gentle dog. Everybody loved her. And we would do everything together. Whether it was going on walks, training, or real-life combat, she was always by my side, and I could always count on her to get the job done. On October 7th, I was actually at home. I woke up early in the morning and I checked my phone to see all the craziness that was happening. I immediately went back to base, and from my base went down to the south to protect the kibbutzim of Israel. I was operating in Be'eri and Miflasim, and later on, when we went into Gaza, in northern Gaza, in the Shifa hospital, and in Khan Yunis. My main goal, my mission, what I was doing there was clear the path for the other soldiers to go through. That's clear of explosives, and look for the hostages. During all this time in Gaza, me and my dog Cheetah, we found 16 explosive devices, each time saving many lives of the soldiers that we were with. Just today, actually, I met a soldier at a different Yom HaAtzmaut ceremony that I was with in Gaza. That Cheetah, she found the explosive before they went in and saved their lives. It was very special. And I wanted to share with you guys the night that I got injured. It was January 24th, 3 months ago. And before we would go into different buildings, I would go in with a couple of my teammates. I asked the rest of my team to stay behind so I could scan the building for explosives first. And I went in with a couple of other teammates into the first room of the building and sent my dog Cheetah to scan for explosives. And after about 40 seconds of Cheetah scanning the building, there was an explosion. I lost consciousness, and my dog Cheetah, who was closer to the explosion, died on the spot. I remember waking up, nobody around me, and I was buried under the rubble. From the whole house just collapsed. And at first I was calm. First I realized that I was okay, relatively speaking, and eventually they would realize that I'm missing and come and get me out of there. And then after around a minute or two, a fire started spreading into the room that I was in. And then I started to stress. I tried everything that I could possibly do to try to get out of there. But I just couldn't get myself out from under the rubble. There was a bunch of blocks on my legs and I couldn't get out. Half the room was on fire when a couple of the other soldiers that were with me found me. And they came immediately to try to get me out. At first, they weren't able to. I was very stuck under there. And they pulled for around a minute, and after a minute they just stopped because they weren't able to get me out. And everyone was quiet, but we were all thinking the same thing. What if they can't get me out? What's gonna happen? After a couple of seconds, they snapped out of it and they started pulling again, this time with more soldiers that came to help. And eventually, luckily, they finally got me out of there. But not before the fire and the burns. It caused serious damage to my body. After they pulled me out, they took me to the doctor that was there with us on the battlefield. And she gave me a life-saving treatment. And I was taken to the hospital by a helicopter. I woke up in the hospital with burns all over my body, with the most severe burns being the third degree burns on my legs. And I woke up and I remember the first question that I asked was about my dog, Cheetah. That's when my mom told me that she didn't make it. And ever since, I've been in the hospital and recovering. I got out around a month ago. And I also want to take this chance to talk about the organization that brought me here. Because other than my friends and family, my biggest visitor in the hospital was the organization Bet HaLochem, which translates to Home of the Warriors. And it's an organization that helps wounded veterans. And they came to visit me and they always made sure that I had everything and that I was getting the best treatment possible. And all this was before I even joined the organization. I had a couple of friends that also got injured and joined the organization. They would always tell me about how it's more than just an organization. It's kind of like a family. They have different locations in Israel, and you go there and you meet other wounded soldiers, and it just feels like you're not alone. And that's actually who brought me here today. So I want to take this chance to also thank Bet HaLochem and to thank you guys for letting me share my story. And before I finish, I know it's Yom HaAtzmaut and I kind of just told like a sad story, but there was something that my friend told me after I was feeling better and I went out with a couple of friends. It was weird because there were still people in Gaza fighting for our country, and we were like going out, and it felt kind of weird. It felt kind of weird to be going out while other people are fighting for our country. And he told me that something that I'll never forget. He told me that the people that are in Gaza right now fighting for our country, they do it so that we can live our lives. I think it's very important to remember. And yeah, so let's not let that take away from the amazing event and party that is planned. And that's it. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.